back to another, I almost said History of Horror. It's 31 Days of Halloween, but you should go watch History of Horror too, because that series is fun as well. Today I am doing my annual skull makeup. Last year, I don't know that I did one. I may have missed out on the skull. Let me know down below if I did. Otherwise, I'll look it up. Anyway, today we're doing one that is like a face splitting. I will put the inspiration picture here so you guys can see. I found it on Pinterest if you need a photo reference as well. But for this, there's basically two steps. There is the glam steps and there is the actual face painting steps. So we're going to do the glam stuff first. I started out with this ultraviolet purple in my crease because I want there to be lots of neon, lots of contrast between the skull and the actual makeup part, and I felt like bright purple was perfect. So on the lid, I packed on a little bit of this silver sheen shadow. These are really old shadows, but I love them for this purpose because they are so smooth and they blend so well, and they're just still very vibrant. So I packed that on both sides, obviously. Both sides of the face are exactly the same. So you can really do whatever you want with this part. I just chose to go ultra bold to enhance the rest of the look. But for the brow bone, I just put on a little bit of brightening powder from e.l.f. and then use that to blend the purple shadow as well. For liner, I wanted to stick with kind of the like ultra bright colors with that ultraviolet. So I did this kind of inky blue liner. It actually matches my shirt. I didn't even do that on purpose. I just realized that. And then I threw on some mascara and then like the biggest pair of lashes I have. So for the foundation, you're going to want to be careful where you place it, because if you do your whole face, it's going to make your paint muddy, especially if you use a color different from the one I used. So on one, I would say like a third of my face, I am putting foundation, and then I will leave a gap. That gap will be where the skull is split so you can see it. So you can kind of start defining your shape now like I am. Like I know where I want it to end on the chin. I know I'm not going to have any foundation on my nose. I put some on my lip just to block it out a little bit. And then I did the same thing on the other side and defined where the forehead shape will be, how far I want the nose to go over. Do I want the split to be crooked? Do I want it to be a straight line? Just really kind of play with it and how far you want it to go down as well. If you bring it down to your neck, you're going to want to bring your foundation down to your neck just so you have that base for your different highlights and shadings. So I just continued my makeup the exact same way I would as if it was any other day. I threw on my concealer, a little bit of blue pencil in the waterline, and some liquid blush that I blended out and then tapped my foundation over top of because it is way too strong and I always use way too much. And then I contoured. When I started contouring, I started defining the skull shape in other parts of my face so that everything still looks cohesive, but there's contrast. So make sure when you do your contour, you bring it down into the hollows and towards your chin, and it'll just enhance that skull-like shape. For my lips, I used Curse Cosmetics Ritual. As always, I have my code for that down below. And then for the skull, I decided I want to do something bright and neon. So I went with neon pink. Before I did one with blue, and it was like the bottom half of my face had ripped off. This one is basically like splitting right down the middle. So I wanted to do a very bright, vibrant color. So I'm filling in that space that we didn't put foundation with. I kind of drew an hourglass is the best way to describe it. A big triangle at the top, it gets skinny at the bridge of the nose, and then of course just filled my whole nose in with pink, and then half of my lip, and it kind of came down at an angle at my chin. Almost like kind of when you rip a piece of paper and it gets thinner and thinner at the end and you just have this little tail, that's what you want here. Once you have all of your base color filled in, you're going to want to powder that down and then go in with your black face paint and start doing all of your hollows. So you're going to want to do nasal passages, any cracks or deep shadows that you want to add, now's the time to do it. I just stuck with this kind of black and pink motif. And this paint is actually UV as well. I just didn't have my light on hand to show you guys, but the pink is actually UV reactive. So I did the nose, and then of course we have to do the teeth. If you've been here for a hot minute, you know that no matter how hard I try, no matter how much I practice, I will always jack up the skull teeth. So I just do these little hash marks. If you know how to do them and make them look great and wonderful, do it. If you have a stencil, use it. There's no shame in that. I just suck at doing skull teeth, so ignore that. But I added a couple little defining marks you'll see here. Ignore those because we're just going to go over those in pink. I ended up not liking how dark they look, so I went in with this dark pink to define all of that. The little black lines are optional. I just added them for little detail, but the brow kind of lines you're going to want to add. And they're basically just two U's with the bottoms facing each other. But I defined those with a little bit of black and then went over them with the dark pink because I thought it looked better. But right now on the edges, I am taking that dark pink and just darkening up my outline. This would be the same as if you're body painting something and you wanted to outline it in black, how we do with most of the tutorials on here. But today we're doing it in that pink, so it looks more like it's coming through the skin. Then I took that shadow, brought it down a little bit more to create kind of a new, like different contours on the bone. Like maybe it's not entirely smooth because our skulls really aren't that smooth. They have a lot of dips and ridges. And then I went in with black and started defining my eye sockets. I literally just forgot to do this earlier. But you can decide how far over you want the eye socket to be exposed. I took it up to my brow and kind of blended it in so it would fall into that seam. After adding a couple little details, little black lines, little cracks, I went back around the edges of the look with my concealer and didn't blend it. You just want to use that to highlight and create, again, that ripped effect. If you have scar wax, you can use that. I think that's what the original tutorial used. But I hate scar wax with a passion, so we're not using that today. But I went in after and added a bunch of fake blood. This is my Ben Nye fake blood. It smells like peppermint. It's super easy to use, and I think it's edible. I put it in my mouth a couple times, and it's peppermint flavored, so I'm assuming you can eat it. If not, I've done it and survived, so it's fine. But you can add as much blood as you want or as little. I didn't use too much just because YouTube gods will yell at you. And also, I didn't want it to be overly gory. I wanted it to look like maybe this happened a while ago and there's just some dry blood caked at the edges. I think this is still considered fresh blood, but mixed with the pink, it looks a little bit worn. But really, go nuts with the fake blood. The more the merrier. Just make it as gory as you can stand. To enhance the kind of ripped effect even more, I added some blood outside of the seams of the face paint, just to make it look a little splattery and a little more spooky and fun. So that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.